morning, everyone. This is William Clayton Hempill, and welcome to Flight of Ideas, the fake podcast on Facebook Live and now YouTube, where we're dedicated to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So let's hang out for a minute. Let's all take a moment to take a moment. Let's all think about where we're at, what we're doing. Let's create a space. Let's create a space where we all get together for a few minutes and think about our day. What are we going to do today? What are we going to do? So what am I going to do today? Well, let's think about this. One, I'm going to survive today. I'm going to make it through the day, whatever that looks like, right? And that's something we kind of took for granted like a year ago. Like, man, I'm going to just survive today, right? If I'd have told you that like February 2020, hey, man, I'm just going to survive today, you'd have been like, all right, man, good luck with that surviving today. Are you all right? Are you all right? I mean, that sounds, but now that we've undergone this pandemic and isolation, some of us extreme isolation, some of us open, and then some of us have gone back into public in some ways. My little road trip to Jerome and my project, very public, very, very like around people again. And then we realized like surviving is a lot, like between bills and life and family and conflict and drama and getting rear-ended and medical crisis or not medical crisis or like, some kind of disability, some kind of ability, some kind of trauma, some kind of bullshit. Like we're all going through it. And then for 1 year, we just took a pause and thought about like how that affects us as a society, as individuals. What do I want to do with my life, right? All these questions stir. Because what happens is you got a snow globe and all the snow is settled at the bottom. And you're just kind of going through the motions. And then all of a sudden someone shakes that snow globe. Someone just like shakes it up and it changes the way you view the world. Now, did it change the way everyone viewed the world? No. I know people who philosophically, the pandemic changed everyone on some level. But practically, like as far as like any kind of dramatic change that's going to change the way I interact with that person, there are some people who didn't really experience the pandemic in the way others did. There's some that didn't take the opportunity to learn life lessons. There are some who are just like set in their ways. Maybe they're older, maybe they're younger. Those are the two groups who are least likely to change, right? The youth believes they know everything because they don't know what they don't know. And the elderly believe they know everything because of their life experience. And it's people in the middle, probably people from 30 to 50 who did the most changing. Now, I know that's a little weird to say that, and it's probably not quite true. And anytime you create silos, you kind of leave exceptions out or inclusions. But I'd say if you're between 30 and 50 and you've been like trying, whatever it is you're trying to make a marriage work, trying to make a house work, trying to make a garden work, trying to raise a dog, whatever it is that you've been trying, this past year has upset the apple cart, right? Artists, anyone who's a creative, my musician friends watch venues get closed down. My artist friends watch galleries get closed down. I see people selling prints that have never sold prints. I wish I had a big bankroll just to buy prints of people's art who never sell prints. People who are extroverted who find out that they don't really like being alone. People who are introverted who always say they want to stay home for a year and lock themselves up. But then they were like, I don't know, man, that might have been a little longer than I really wanted to do that for, right? People finding out that people they care about don't really care about them in the way they thought they did, People who refuse to mask, people who refuse to be safe, people out on vacation while you're locked away in your room. different layers. And all these different layers come together to create a new understanding of the world, right? For lots of people, we start to reimagine the way our world works, the way our nation works, the way that we work, right? And that's where I'm at. I'm in this very, very open place to the idea that everything I ever believed was wrong. Everything I ever believed was wrong. And it's hard to process that. It's hard to wrap your head around that. Everything I've ever believed, like, man, I'm sure I have a few beliefs that were right. Yeah, I probably do, but they need revisited just the same as the ones that were wrong, or else we're not going to know which ones are wrong, right? Kind of like checking fruit on a tree to see which one's ripe. You kind of got to, like when I pick peaches, I just kind of put my hand on the peach and I just kind of jiggle a little bit. And if it falls in my hand, that means it was ready to be picked. If I have to pull on it, well, then that peach wasn't quite ready, right? So you just kind of put your hand up there and you do this, and then boop, the peach is in your hand. You know that one was ready to come off, right? The same way with ideas, what we thought we knew, what our value system was. And our value system, social norms, were created for a certain world. Let's say 1960s America created all these social norms. And whether or not it did, this is really loose. We could dig into the philosophy of that. But let's say 1960s America created this kind of social norm, right? Or 1980s America, 1990s America, pick a time. And then the world changed, right? Our manufacturing moved to China. So the idea of high school and a warehouse job, high school and a manufacturing job, they went away. Because, we outsourced our whole country to China. We're post-industrial now. We don't make anything anymore. So now we have a service-based economy where people are either servants or they have lots of money, right? And you'll see this more and more and more, where you have the foodie class that goes out to eat all the time. Then you have a whole bunch of people living off of serving them, right? And it's interesting. But that doesn't really mesh with the if you work hard, you get great rewards ideology of the 60s, right? And this is just one thing, and I don't really want to dig into it, but just kind of this idea of there was a huge working class, like blue-collar working class in America from like 1960 to the year 2000. And there really isn't now. There's a white-collar class and there's a servant class. And when people like get a trade job, they're only like 1 million. No, it's not even 1 million carpenters. It might be like on the far side, 1 million carpenters in the country, right? There's not that many. Like there's really just not that need for, man, it takes 20 carpenters to build a high-rise building in a year. I did it in Vegas. There are like 20 of us. Like that's it. When we'd have carpenter meetings, there are like 20 carpenters and we built a whole fucking building, right? Probably 40 if you count the concrete carpenters and that's not just that's framers, drywallers, exterior, like all the carpenters. Like for a high-rise building, there's not that really many trade jobs. Where if you went to a manufacturing floor like back in the day, or even Intel, go to Intel now, there are just thousands of employees there. And it's a fully automated factory. But look at the parking lot. Manufacturing takes a lot of people. It's just crazy. Construction doesn't really. Go to a construction parking lot. It's not that many cars. The construction parking lot is usually like a quarter the size that the parking lot will be once the building is opened, whatever that building is, right? So if it's a manufacturing building and I'm the site foreman, the site super, and I'm laying out employee parking, it's not as big as the real parking lot's going to be when the job is done. So all this idea that everyone can go into trades, it's just not there. So what we have is we kind of have a service economy and a management economy, right? And it creates these two Americas, right? The foodies and the servers. The foodies and the servers. That's kind of it, right? The NIMBYs and the YIMBYs, the foodies and the servers, whatever that is, right? But people aren't, the blue collar kind of thing is kind of gone for the most part. It exists, but it's kind of gone. So when we re-look at the way our economy functions, and it's not just about the economy, but let's start there. We talk about get a better job, move yourself up, but move yourself up to where? You don't really go from being a server to being an office manager. There's no path that happens, right? There's no way from like this side of the equation to that side of the equation. Maybe it could happen, and someone has this outlandish story about someone who started washing dishes and now they're the restaurant manager. But for the most part, restaurant managers go to college and have a degree in something, and it just creates this management class. Fine. Okay, so let's just say that the economy is different. Family structures are different because you have parents who grew up in one set of rules, one set of circumstances, one set of ideas. I worked for the same company my whole life. I joined a union when I was 20 and I worked my whole life, right? And then you have people, in or around my age that have had like 50 jobs in their lifetime, maybe 100 jobs. And I know that I'm a special case because I'm a weirdo, but most of my friends, Miss Bain, most of my friends, like the one company lifestyle's gone, right? The company man, the factory, the Microsoft, whatever it is, it's gone, right? Most of the companies that our parents work for don't even exist anymore. Like I worked at Sears for 40 years. I worked at GM for 40 years. I worked at UPS for 40 years. Whatever your story is. Now there's Amazon and FedEx, right? The Postal Service isn't what it was. So that world is gone. Now, the way we relate is gone. So we had this power structure where our parents and their generation kind of enforced their norms on us. And then we kind of accepted it, right? I'm going to fit your mold. I'm going to try to impress you. I'm going to do the things that you say work because I see they work for you. And I want to do them, right? I want that day job that like pays well so I can have a house and kids and a car and then a retirement, right? And we keep trying this. And then we realize, fuck, it doesn't work anymore, right? It doesn't work. That's not how the country works. But we never really, when you're in the struggle, you don't have time to get outside of the struggle, right? It's like when you're watching a horror movie and you're like, don't run into that shed, don't run into that shed. And they run into the shed. When you're running from the bad guy, you don't get to think where I'm going to run because it's fight or flight. You're just running, right? And the same thing when you're stuck in the struggle. You're just trying to live and eat and move. What the year of COVID did was it allowed us to take a step back and view the world from the outside. Oh, you mean shit's not like it used to be. Oh, and those parameters don't fit anymore. Oh, and and maybe I was born different. Maybe people are maybe people are understanding their mental state, their cognitive function, right? Their kind of differences. What makes them special? What makes them unique? Like I've been wrestling with my ADHD. I started just before the pandemic to acknowledge that I had it in a way other than joking. It used to be I'd joke like, I have ADHD, right? And people knew, like everyone knew. But now it's like something I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe I should be reading a book about it. Maybe I should watch some YouTube videos. Maybe I should understand how I interact with the world differently. Maybe people who are depressed, maybe people who are just inclined to different parts of the society, maybe people who are creative, maybe people who always wanted to be this, but they were stuck being that. They're all, that's so big. That's such a big idea. Many people who are struggling with depression, mental illness, cognitive disorders, mild autism, whatever kind of thing that was going on with you that made you feel different, but you were still trying to fit this like 1960s American dream model. And then that year off gave us a chance to all examine who we are and what we do in a vacuum, right? And so people are exploring and becoming more open with their with who they are. I don't want to say with their issues because they're not all issues, but we're becoming more comfortable discussing who we are. And we're becoming more comfortable discussing, hey, boomers, you know what? our world isn't your world, and quit trying to enforce your rules on a world they don't apply to anymore. And in fact, your world didn't really work out because so many of us are traumatized from our childhood, right? So many people have trauma from their childhood. And no one really wants to talk about it, right? Whatever that trauma was, like, we have it and it shows. And so we're being pushed from behind by our parents, so many of us. Why don't you do what I did? I did it. Why can't you? I worked hard. I did it. You guys all know the same story. We all have the same fucking story. My parents came from nothing and they worked hard. So they pushed me really hard to do something with my life. Well, guess what? The Great Depression happened in the 1940s. So if you were born in the 1940s or 50s, your parents were poor because it was the Great fucking Depression and everyone was poor. So everyone has the same story about I came from nothing and I worked my way up. Well, you had the giant boom after World War II, where the U.S. economy boomed and there's all these jobs and all this work and all this money floating around. And so this generation got in front of that wave. They had poor parents because it was a depression. And then they made money because it was the boom time, right? The golden era of America. And they think that we can all do that, but it's gone. It's kind of like in the year 1950 saying, hey, move to California. There's a gold rush out there. You can get rich. But all the gold in California was gone by that time. If someone told you in 1849 to get to California to find gold, maybe you could, maybe you couldn't, but you had a shot. If someone told you in 1949 to go to California to get gold, it probably isn't the same thing, right? And that's what's happening here is people are saying, hey, there's gold in them there hills, but the gold is gone. And so then this pandemic really exposed that. It exposed a society that's weak in so many ways, right? It exposed the social pressure of our parents, and not just our parents. I'm not picking on mom and dad or Miss Bain's mom and dad, but just in general, a lot of my friends struggle with this. Like, where's your house? Where's your car? Where's your 3 kids? Why are you divorced? Whatever these social norms were for them. And it's because the gold isn't in those hills anymore, right? So we have this life that has changed, and we had some time to reflect on that change because enough people got to step outside of the norm and kind of see what was happening through isolation, through working at home, whatever the circumstance was, we all got to kind of see it. So we understand that things change. We also, for a lot of us, I did a piece during my pandemic series called Take Some Time to Get to Know Yourself. I'd never spent that much time alone. I'd never spent that much time with myself. I'd never spent that much time thinking, writing, journaling, drawing, running out of shit to do. What do I do when I don't have anything to do, right? I couldn't leave the house for months. What do? I build furniture, right? What do? I write, I draw, I think, I philosophize, I engage with the world. I think about who do I really miss and who are just filler people in my life, right? I actually shrank my circle during the pandemic. It's weird. And I think that a lot of people are going to experience this where the people you love more, but the people who weren't important to you are gone, right? So I know I'm meandering a little bit, but let me put this together. There are kind of 3 components that I want to deal with on this podcast, fake podcast, moving forward. One is life. Life in 21st century America is not life in 20th century America. And we're about to see a tectonic shift of ideas. Like the new generation is here. Ideas are shifting, and they're shifting fast. Number 2 is work. What would you do for a living if you could do whatever you wanted, right? Would you be a farmer? Would you be a gardener? Would you be a furniture maker? Would you be a landscape architect? Would you be a chef? What would you be if you could be anything, right? What would that be? How do we create an American artisan class? And then the last thing we're going to discuss is who we are as humans. Personally, me, I struggle with ADHD. I'm going to be completely more open and honest about that in a way that's not joking, in a way that's not self-deprecating, in a way that's not like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm a little crazy because I'm ADD, like self-apologizing. We're going to discuss who we are as people and what we need. So what we're going to discuss is life, personal life, society, and work. And we're going to do this through the lens of building stuff, right? So every day I'm going to come down and I'm going to draw a little picture, and then I'm going to put my notes of what I want to talk about on. And then I'm going to write a little project list, like what am I going to do today? And then hopefully it's going to be a couple videos a day on what I'm building, right? What am I building today? And so in the morning, I'm going to talk. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to build. And I'm going to try to do this every day for a month. I have 30 days worth of money in the bank. Thank you to the Red Rooster. I have material in the shop. I have tools. Everything's a mess right now. I'd love to show you, but if you can tell by my desk back here is an indicator of how chaotic my life is. So when the desk is clean, that meant I had time to like straighten out those papers. But the whole room looks like that right now. The whole room doesn't always look like that. It's like a wave. It comes up and then it crashes. And then there's shit everywhere. And then I clean it all up and then it comes up and then it crashes, right? This is kind of what we all deal with in different ways. Some people have little waves because they're on top of them. Some people have big waves because they let them grow. And we're going to discuss that. So what am I going to build today? What I'm going to build today is a workshop. Mission number one is to create a functioning workshop. Now, I know that people tell me, I don't get a lot of comments, and that's okay. I'm not pressuring anyone. But I know that people watch the live at the workshop videos more than they do my fake podcast. When I'm out in public, now that I was out in public for my month in the Verde Valley, people are like, I really miss your live building stuff, right? And the reason I didn't do that is my workshop was too loud, right? So my workshop, this room's loud right now because I took down my curtain wall. I'm going to put my curtain wall back up. I had to loan it to Miss Bain. Sorry, see, ADHD, I'm sidetracking. I'm going to work on focus if you guys bear with me. I'm going to allow a space for live at the workshop to happen again. And I'm going to do that by, I moved part of my workshop outside, which I hadn't done before because it's just going to get rained on and I'm going to deal with that. And then I'm going to try to not soundproof, I'm going to try to sound treat the studio so that I can bring a camera in there and you guys cannot be the noise, right? Okay. I totally got lost just now in my thoughts because they're raging. When I'm in this place where my studio's a mess, this is the room I keep my finished products in. Like I built a desk. It sits in this room. My cutting boards and boxes are over there. It's an absolute mess though, because I packed up a truck and I drove to Arizona and then I came back and I unloaded the truck and I just threw everything everywhere. And then I'm going through trying to clean that up and I'm making a garden and I'm working through these things, right? So my shop is an absolute mess. I'm processing like a lot of emotional information because I left lockdown. I've been COVID tested, so I didn't have COVID. I COVID tested before I came back. I got my first shot of vaccine. But going out into the world after 11 months of lockdown was fascinating. Going out into the world in the Verde Valley, building a restaurant project, dealing with people, wonderful people. It's a lot to reflect on. Coming home, wondering, what am I doing in Atlanta when I have people in Phoenix, when I have people in the Verde Valley, when I could just put my shit in a U-Haul and go have a business, right? Rent a small warehouse somewhere and like build furniture. Or I can like stay here and struggle through this newness, this unknown, right? And I've had so much unknown in my life that it's scary. It's scary to face the unknown. But at the same time, the Phoenix that I'd go back to isn't the Phoenix I left. And the Verde Valley that I go back to isn't the Verde Valley that I left. And so why not try something new? Why not grow? Why not learn? Why not live in Atlanta? Why not experience Southern life? Why not experience Black culture in the capital of Black culture of America? Why not experience what's happening now culturally, politically? Is anything I'm saying making any sense? I feel like I come out on a tangent so far because I'm trying to do this like 30-minute morning intro and I write notes and I'm like, and then I just flight of ideas, right? I just spool off the top. So then one of the big things as we finish up, because we're at the 27-minute mark, one of the big things about this is I don't want to say that I don't care that this is bad production, because I do care. It's important to me to create quality content for people who view, because I want to have influence over the way that the world changes from now forward. I want to put myself in a place where I'm a respected voice of change for the future generations. But I also want to document what that process looks like. And so I think that by being so raw, by all the videos, when I look back at the video of the cottages, and I had like this, like my workshop was really rough there, right? My cottage workshop was outdoors, no shade, not real good equipment. I've come a long way. And I think that watching that process unfold is as valuable as any new information I'd present, right? And I think that there are people who make the transition faster. There are people buying a welder right now who in 2 years from now are going to be notable furniture makers on the internet, right? And they're going to get a shop and people are going to love their work. And my road has been a little bit longer. I'm in year number 8 and I still have a long way to go to get to where I'm trying to go. So I want to document that process because that's as important as the end goal is the process. For me, art is process. I want to express an idea, but I also want to do it in a way that feels good for me while I'm doing it. So if I can just be honest with myself and say, hey, this isn't the best podcast, fake podcast that it can be. In fact, there's some really simple things I could do to make it better. I could organize my thoughts better. I could present the information better. I could write a script. Maybe I will have to. I don't like to write. That's why I'm doing a podcast instead of a blog. If I write a script, it feels like, fuck, I might as well just like publish the script and then I have a blog, right? Okay. So all the way back to zero. Closing remarks. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to read. I'm going to learn. I'm going to understand myself a little bit better. Going to start out in the morning, sometime around 10 o'clock Eastern time. I'm going to have a discussion about what I'm feeling, what I think, what's going on. This is my way to reach out to the outside world. This is my message in the bottle. And then I'm going to go into the workshop and I'm going to build something. And I'm going to try to go live for like 5 minutes at a time during each step of the process so that you guys can watch it. And we're going to see how that works. Anyway, thank you for your time. I want you guys to support the businesses that support me. If you notice, Comida Chingon, go visit Silvana at Barrio Cafe. If you're in Phoenix, if you're in the Verde Valley, go support the Red Rooster. Stop by, check out my work at Perception. Maybe order a pizza from Grand Avenue. All these places that have fostered my growth. It's more than just a business relationship where they buy furniture from me and I sell furniture to them. We have these interconnected, ongoing relationships that are valuable to me and valuable to the community, where we learn and grow from each other. The pairing between great chefs and a furniture maker, or great people and a furniture maker, because I know Shane doesn't like to consider himself a chef. the interaction that happens when you work together in that way changes all of us forever. And I'd really like for each of you guys to go and experience that if you can. Go and see, the smoker at Barrio or the furniture at Perception or the brand new tables. You need a road trip to the Verde Valley to go see the new bar at the Red Rooster. I promise you'll love it. And when you ask about it, the people there will be excited about it because everyone was included in the process. I put the busing station where the busser wanted it. I just try to interact in those ways and bring a new awareness to space and the places that we operate. Because at the end of the day, that's where we live our lives. Is at work, it's at home, it's in these spaces. And when we can value that, we can create a new experience for ourselves and the people around us. So support these businesses. Feel free to comment. Feel free to say, hey, feel free to check in. I love you guys. Everyone listening, you are strong. It's been a long year. It's about to be another long 4 months, but we're going to get through this together. Thank you.